The world held its breath, eyes glued to the Sistine Chapel's chimney. Suddenly, white smoke puffed out. Yep, a new pope was picked. Down in St. Peter's Square, you could feel the excitement buzzing. Everyone wondered, who's going to step out on that balcony and steer the Catholic Church next? Then, the big reveal dropped. Cardinal Luis Antonio from the Philippines was now Pope Francis II. For the first time in ages, the Church had an Asian leader. Talk about a game changer! It showed just how far the Church's reach stretched, especially into Asia. The crowd went wild. Cheers everywhere. For Catholics around the globe, this was huge, a total heart-lifter. This humble guy from Manila was now carrying a legacy that goes all the way back to St. Peter. Pope Francis II, known for his friendly vibe, down-to-earth style, and deep faith, lit up hope for believers. He was all about Vatican II's big ideas, talking, connecting, and shaking things up for the better. His election? It wasn't just a new page for the Church. It was a fresh start for the world. When he stepped onto the balcony, a wave of faces looked up, flags flapping from every country you can imagine. The crowd shouted his name, their voices bouncing off the old stones of the square. It was party time. A day of togetherness and faith that hit you right in the feels. The air crackled with energy. Strangers hugged, tears of happiness flowed, and the Church's "we're all in this together" spirit shone bright. From the Philippines to Poland, Brazil to the United States, Catholics everywhere were over the moon about this huge moment. Pope Francis II's election broke through borders and blended cultures like never before. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang out loud and clear, their happy chimes floating on the soft Rome breeze. This wasn't just a new pope stepping up. It was the start of something big, full of hope and big dreams. The world tuned in, holding on to hope, as Pope Francis II flashed a warm smile and a sparkle in his eye. Speaking to the crowd, his voice, soft but strong, filled the square. "My brothers and sisters," he started, channeling the vibe of the first Pope Francis. "Let's walk this path together with faith, hope, and love." He didn't shy away from the tough stuff: poverty, unfairness, fights, and the planet's troubles. He pushed for a fresh focus on fairness, asking the Church to stick up for those who don't get heard and to stand by the poor and forgotten. His words weren't just fancy speeches from a big shot. They came straight from the heart of a guy who really cared about his people. "We've got to spread peace," he said, "all about building bridges and understanding between everyone." He highlighted how people of different faiths can team up because of the good stuff they share. His big idea? Unity. Getting all the kind-hearted folks out there to join forces for the greater good. Pope Francis II's road to the top was all about staying humble and helping out. Growing up in the Philippines, he saw up close what life's like for those who have it rough. Known for his down-to-earth way with people, he could chat with anyone, no matter who they were. That humility was his signature move. He climbed the church ladder, serving as Manila's archbishop, then becoming a cardinal, always leading with kindness, smarts, and a fierce passion for justice. He never stopped speaking up for the poor, the pushed aside, and the planet. Pope Francis II wasn't afraid to stand up to the big shots, speaking bold truths with guts and heart. His rise to Pope showed just how solid his character and faith were. He was a guy who truly got people, a leader who knew his crew. Now, he was stepping up to guide the whole Catholic Church, shining as a light of hope for a world that desperately needed direction and a little lift. In his first big speech, he kept coming back to three big ideas: hope, welcoming everyone, and sticking together. He wanted the church to be a cozy home for all, no matter where they came from, what they believed, or who they loved. "Let's talk and listen," he urged, pushing Catholics to connect with the world with big hearts and open minds. "The church isn't a locked-up castle," he said. "It's more like a first aid tent for anyone life's banged up." That hit home for folks who'd felt left out, offering them a warm invite back in. He didn't stop with just Catholics, though. He reached out to other faiths, saying, "Hey, we've got a lot in common. Let's work together." He reminded everyone, we're all God's kids, meant to live side by side in peace. And he didn't dodge the tough stuff either. Climate change, poverty, unfairness, and fighting. He tackled them head on. "Faith isn't just about praying quietly in a corner," he said. "It's about stepping up for others, too." He gave world leaders a nudge, okay, more like a shove, to act fast and care more about fixing these messes. "Put the poor and the struggling first," he insisted, pointing out how we're all tied together and have to look after our shared planet. He didn't ignore the hurt from wars, violence, and unfairness either. His words were a loud call to do better, together. Pope Francis II threw out a big call for peace, healing, and forgiveness, asking folks of every faith to spread good vibes in a world that's often down in the dumps. His words were like a breath of fresh air, pushing back against the gloom and negativity we see too much of these days. For Catholics everywhere, he was a total rock star. His warm, humble, and soulful style hit them right in the heart. He was all about fairness, chatting with other faiths, and taking care of the planet, which totally clicked with tons of Catholics, especially the younger crowd. His election felt like a big, exciting reset for the church, full of promise. People could tell his time as Pope would be about connecting, reaching out, and getting involved. Catholics globally were pumped up by his dream of a kinder, fairer, more open church. His first speech as Pope laid down the vibe for what's ahead, a huge dose of hope, togetherness, and love. It wasn't just talk either. He was firing up Catholics to go out and make the world better. His words stuck with people, lighting a fire under them to live their faith with more guts and meaning. But Pope Francis II didn't stop with Catholics. He was talking to everyone, whether they had a faith or not. He painted a picture of a world that's more peaceful, fair, and green. He kept hammering home that we're all in this together, that what we do affects everyone, and that we've got to look out for each other and our planet. His message cut through all the religious and cultural noise, giving everyone a shared goal to aim for. It hit home with people pushing for peace, justice, and a healthier earth, giving a big lift to those battling for a better, fairer world. The moment Pope Francis II was chosen, it was like flipping to a brand new page in the Catholic Church's story, one that's gearing up to stir things up and pump fresh energy into the whole scene. This wasn't just a small tweak. It felt like the start of something huge, a chance to rethink and recharge what the Church could be. With his heart set on fairness, building bridges with other faiths, and taking care of our planet, his leadership promised to leave a giant footprint, not just on the Church, but on the entire world. He wasn't here to play it safe. He was ready to roll up his sleeves and tackle the big stuff. That first speech he gave? It was like a teaser trailer for an epic movie, packed with hope, a call to stick together, and a whole lot of love. It wasn't some dusty old lecture either. It was a fired-up invitation for everyone, Catholics, people of other beliefs, or even those who don't vibe with religion at all, to jump in and help make the world better. He laid out a vision that didn't just sit pretty on a pedestal. It reached out, grabbed you, and said, "Hey, let's do this together." It was the kind of talk that stuck with you, making you feel like you could actually be part of something meaningful. His words hinted at a papacy that wouldn't just coast along, but one that'd push boundaries, spark change, and inspire folks everywhere to step up and lend a hand. Pope Francis II's reign as Pope was shaping up to be something truly special. A massive moment in time where wounds could heal, new beginnings could take root, and everything could get a big, positive shakeup. His leadership didn't feel like business as usual. It carried the promise of real change, the kind that lifts spirits and turns heads. As the sun sank below the horizon on that incredible history-making day, the whole world seemed to pause, holding its breath in a mix of nerves and thrill, wondering what this new era would bring. People everywhere, from bustling cities to quiet corners, were practically buzzing, eager to see where this journey would take them. This humble guy from Manila, with his simple, grounded ways, had already stolen the hearts of millions. It wasn't just his title that won them over. It was his realness, his knack for speaking straight to the soul with warmth and care. He stepped onto the scene with a message that felt like a big, comforting hug, full of hope and a call for everyone to come together. It was more than just words. It was a glimpse of a future that could be brighter, kinder, and more connected. His style wasn't flashy or over the top, but it hit deep, lighting up imaginations and making people believe that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. That sunset marked not just the end of a day, but the start of something epic, with this down-to-earth shepherd leading the way toward a tomorrow worth dreaming about. The world couldn't take its eyes off him, waiting to see how this new page in the Catholic Church's long, wild story would play out. Oh, and hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our channel.